Hi guys, welcome to Improve 10x. As part of test driven development series, today we are trying to solve another simple problem which is scoring system. So before going into the problem, let's see what is TDD. TDD is something where we actually write the test first and then write production code later. So in this we have three states, red, green and blue. Red means you write a test that will fail. Even a compilation failure is also considered as a failure. And then you will write code just to make sure that test passes. You should not write anything else extra apart from that. And once you are done, your test passes, you can do a refactor and you can clean up your code and you can make sure your code is more effective and organized. Let's get into the problem. So in this problem, there are three people who are playing a board game. The three of them decided to come up with a new scoring system. A player's first initial like A, B or C denotes the player scoring a single point. Given a string of capital letters, return an array of players' score. Now, for example, if you get A, B, B, A, C, 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 A, C, then it means Abhi scored 3 points, Bunty scored 2 points and Cherry scored 5 points. So you can see that in the array, like the output array will be 3, 2, 5. Similarly, you have few more examples. The first example is A. If you just give a string A, the result will be 1, 0, 0. If you give ABC, the result will be 1, 1, 1. And if you give a combination of multiple characters, you will get a related output 2, 2, 3. Right? So, shall we try to solve this problem using TDD? Let's get started. So, as we discussed, we should not create any production code before writing the test. So, first thing we need to do is create a test. I am creating a package. Let's call it as scoring. And inside scoring, I am creating a test, scoring test. Done. Add. Now, first I want to verify whether my test environment is working properly or not. So I'm just going to write a empty test public void nothing. And let me run the test suite. It passed. So the test environment is working perfectly fine. Now let me come up with a first and a corner case. Test public void given null, it should return all zeros. So first I need a class to call this method, right? So let me assume that the class name is scoring. So I have a compilation error. I have to write a production code to solve this problem now. And I should be writing this inside the Java, not in the test. So I just created it. The class is created. Now the test should be working right. Now the next part is I need to call the method. In the problem they have clearly mentioned the method name is calculate scores. So let's use the same name, scoring dot calculate scores, and I need to pass input which is null for this particular example, and the output will be integer array, all zeros equal to scoring. So now again we have a compilation error which is considered as a test failure. Let's try to solve this problem by creating a method. Return type integer, input is string. Let me call the variable name as score, and default it is returning in zero size in array. Done. Now I need to check asset equal. Since we are using array, I am going to use asset array equals. Let me do static import. Done. Now I need to pass expected value is new integer of 0, comma and the actual value is all zeros, right? Let's try to run the test suite. This test, ideally it should fail. Yeah, there is a small change. We are expecting 3 integer outputs in the array, so I have given that. Let me run the test suite again. Yes, it failed. Now let's get into the scoring problem, and then we'll try to solve this problem. If score is equal to null, we don't even need to check it. Actually, we can directly just give this as 3 size, and by default it will have zeros, so I think that should make the test work. Yes, it worked. Now let's go back and write another test for empty string. Given empty, even for empty also it should return all zeros. Instead of input null, we are going to give an empty string. Let's run the test suite. It worked because it is by default giving all 3 zeros for any input. So this is also working fine. Now let's try and do for the first simple problem, which is a. Whenever the value is input is a, it should return 1, 0, 0. So now let's try to given a, it should return 1, 0, 0. Here we are passing it as a. Only a scores, and here also, here we can give the values directly. Now let me say 1, 0, 0, and the actual value is only a scores. Let's try to run the test case. Done, it failed. So now let's get into the scoring. We can simply say if score dot equals a, because we are not writing any extra logic, we are just making sure this test passes, and it should return new int where 1, 0, 0. Done. Now let's see if this test passes. Yeah, here is a catch. For given a it passed, but it failed for another test which is given null, because we are not having a null check here. Now let's add a null check. Score is not equal to null, and now let's see, run the test suite again. It passed all the tests. Perfect. Now let's go to the tests and see if we can do any refactoring. So if you see here, scoring is something that we are creating multiple times, right? We don't need to do it every time. So let's try to create the setup method @ before each public void setup, and then I can declare this at the top at instance level. I can make it as private, and I don't need this initialization. I'll just initialize it inside the setup method. Done. Now I can remove this scoring object initialization in every test separately. Let me run the test suite and see if everything is working fine. All the tests passed. Let's get into the next problem. So similarly, just like A, let's try it for B also. When you give B, it should return 0, 1, 0, and the input is B. Expected output is 0, 1, 0, B scores. Now let's try to run the test suite. Yeah, it failed. Let's go into the scoring class. Let's try to solve this problem. So when it is B, we need an else if condition. Else if, again, score not equal to null and score dot equals B. We need to return 0 comma 1 comma 0. Let us see if it works. It worked. Similarly, we need the third one, which is for C. So if you see here, we are doing it incrementally, like we are going one by one, and it is automatically creating the structure for the algorithm. It is solving one problem at a time, and the expected output should be 0 comma 0 comma 1. Even the method should be 0 comma 0 comma 1. Now let's try to run the test suite again. It failed. Let's go into the scoring. Now let's modify it for C. If it is C, then it should be 0 comma 0 comma 1, and run the test suite, and everything passed. Let's try to do some refactor or cleanup. So if you see here, score not equal to null is actually redundant. It is there 3 times. So let's try to extract that into a separate if condition. If score not equal to null, done. Let us see if it works. In fact, it is working, so it doesn't have any problem. Now shall we go and try for a little complex case, where we'll try for AB. Given AB returns, it should be 1 1 0. Now AB scores, and the input will be AB. Expected output should be 1 comma 1 comma 0. Let's see. Till now it was pretty straightforward, where we are just checking the complete scores, but now a little complicated scenario came into picture. So when the score is AB, we are not checking the complete score variable, we are checking each and every character in that. So what we need to do? We need a for loop. For int I equal to 0, I less than score dot length I plus plus. And now, instead of checking everything like this, what we need to check? We need to check the character. Char C equal to, let's say, score dot caret I. Now C is equal to A, right? And when this happens, what should we return? We are not going to return this value directly, because there might be a value for B also. So what should we do? Declare the result outside. Int array scores equal to new int of 3. Now in case if this happens, we are not going to return. What we are going to do is, we are just trying to set the value, which is scores of 0 is equal to 1. Similarly, if it is B, we have to do the same for scores of 1 equal to 1. And see, we don't need to make any changes, and we are not doing anything also. So let's not try that, and let's try to run the test suite. It failed few cases. So let us see what are those test cases. Okay, because they are returning all zeros at the end. So what we are going to do, we need to return scores. Now let's run the test suite again. It worked. With AB also it worked properly, no issues. Now let's try to see with ABC. And it should return all ones. So I'll just mention it as all ones. And expected output 1, 1, 1. Now let's try to run the test suite again. It failed. So let's go back. Let's fix it for C also. C equal to C, and inside we are going to set the second index value, which is scores of 2 equal to 1. Now even this should work. So we are very close, like we have handled all the 3 variables. Now we need to handle a complex scenario where it can actually repeat. So let's try to do it with AA, BC, and it should give 2, 1, 1. So let us try and see if it works. It didn't work. So let's go into the scoring, see where exactly the problem is. So if you see here, whenever the character is matching with A, we are always setting it to 1. But ideally what we have to do, we have to keep incrementing it, right? So by default it was 0. Instead of setting it to 1, what I will do is I'll just simply set plus plus, and let us see if it works. And it worked. Now let's try to do the same thing with A, B, B, C, and it should return 1, 2, 1. So this way we are actually solving one step at a time. It might be taking a little extra time, but this is going to give you that algorithm completely from scratch. So let's try to run this. Done. So again same thing for B also. We have to just do the increment part. Now run the test suite. It works. Now let's try to do the same thing for C. One, 1, 2. Let us run this test suite. Yes, again it failed. So let's go to the scoring. Let's try to solve this problem for C also. Instead of setting it directly, we are just incrementing it. And then all the tests have passed. Now if you see, we are almost done with our algorithm. We have a default set of scores. We are checking for a null, and then we are looping through each and every character and checking whether each character is A, B or C, and based on that we are increasing the scores, and finally we are returning the scores. Now let's try to just test it with the input which we have received in the problem. A, B, B, A, C, 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 A, C. So given A, BB, A, CC, CC, AC, and it should return 3, 2, 5. 3, 2, 5. So let's try to use this string. We are just verifying it now. And the expectation is 3, 2, 5. Let us see if it works. This is the beauty of algorithms. Like if you try to solve small problems, it will automatically solve like a very large scale problems. And here we did not even think about like these kind of complicated scenarios and all. What we were trying to do is just do one step at a time, and then the method has been created completely. And now you can do any refactoring, you can do any cleanup, like whatever you want to do, you can do it, and you can do it with full confidence, saying like the test suite will actually help you make sure whether it is working with all the cases or not. So yeah, I think that's it with the scoring test, guys. So I hope you have understood the problem. In case if you have any questions, just please comment on the YouTube video. Let's catch up in the next session, guys. Thank you so much.